Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we are back and we are off. We are running another brand new live edition of Talking Ball. 97.7 ESPN The Zone with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Welcome into our Wednesday show. We have made it to the halfway point of the work week. Safe travels into work, into school, wherever you may be headed on this Wednesday. It is a little wet start to your Wednesday. Everything else hopefully will be okay today. 256-576-4977. That is how you can be a part of the show this morning. We want you to join us as much as you can. Hopefully you can. 256-576-4977. And I say hopefully because hopefully everything goes right. And what do we got in store today? Well, SEC coaches making big money. One SEC coach gets rewarded for his team's 2022 success. And that'll spawn a couple other questions. The search for Alabama's offensive coordinator continues. One name is not going to be a part of that process. We'll cross his name off the list. And we could just keep adding names to the list of potential candidates. We did yesterday. We ran down some. I mean, you could just throw any name on the board and see if it sticks. But there's one name that you can cross off. We'll go over that. We'll get you ready for SEC basketball. Another busy night. Tide and Tigers both in action. Both at home tonight. So we'll run that down. Of course, Auburn puts the nation's longest winning streak, home court winning streak, in jeopardy tonight. So we got a lot of stuff to get through, and we only have 120 minutes to do so. So we're going to try to get through it as all as we can. We mentioned that one SEC coach is getting rewarded for his success this past year, and indeed that is true. Josh Heupel, Tennessee head coach. Now, keep in mind, he was already bumped from $4 to $5 million over the summer when he signed a one-year extension in July. He got $4 to $5. Well, now Tennessee has backed the money truck up and has given Josh Heupel just a little bit more money, and they've now tied him up through January of 2029. And Josh Heupel's going to get $9 million plus incentives now a season. He helped Tennessee go 11-2. That's the first time they had finished 11-2 since Philip Fulmer in 2001. Last time the Vols did that. Of course, they got wins over LSU, Florida, Alabama this year, but lost to likes of Georgia and South Carolina. So with that money, Josh Heupel climbs up the ladder of SEC coaches making money. And he climbs all the way up a big-time ladder, does Josh Heupel. Nick Saban, $11.7 million, number one in the SEC. Kirby Smart, 11.2. Brian Kelly, 9.5. Those are the only coach. And then you got Jimbo at 9.5. And then behind him, you have a tie now. You have Lane Kiffin, Josh Heupel making $9 million. So Josh Heupel now in the top 5 there of SEC head coaches when it comes to making money.
Yeah, he got a big raise, over $9 million per year for beating Alabama. That's basically what it was for. And winning 11 games. And so now he's going to have a bigger target on his back. You know, Butch Jones had a couple of 9-win seasons and a couple of top 5 recruiting classes, and they certainly bumped him up, but that he couldn't feed the beast. He couldn't continue to win consistently and fell off. But we'll see what Josh Heupel can do. He snuck up on some people last year. Let's just be blunt. Nobody expected him to win 11. Nobody, even I thought Hendon was a really good player, but He ended up being a Heisman candidate, despite the fact that you saw the idiots not vote him to New York City. But that was the big key for their team. Their defense improved under Tim Banks. But again, we'll see now. They're gonna be a consensus just because of the season they had, even though they lost a ton. They had a good recruiting class. They brought in Nico Iamaleava for I don't know how much NIL money, but they did. And, I mean, in the latest rankings with On3Sports.com, they ranked him ahead of Arch Manning. So it's going to be interesting. I'll just say I don't think that Joe Milton's going to have a long leash.
Right.
He played well in the Orange Bowl and helped them beat Clemson, an overrated Clemson team from a weak sauce league. But I think, when you look at it, and honestly, if you're a Tennessee fan, you have to be excited, but you have to also understand you missed an opportunity because just like Alabama did when they lost to Tennessee and couldn't finish against LSU, this is a Tennessee team that if they had beaten South Carolina, they would have been in the playoff.
Right.
I firmly believe Ohio State wouldn't have been there.
So you got to approach it with a little bit of caution?
Well, a little bit, just because, look, you lost Jalen Hyatt, you lost Cedric Tillman. Milton has been feast or famine. So the minute Milton has 2 or 3 bad series or a bad half or whatever, they're going to be hollering for Iamaleava to come in and save the day. So it's going to be interesting. And then I will give Heupel and his staff credit. Like, even though they lost Hyatt and Tillman, they developed both of them.
Right.
Because neither one of them were tearing it up at Tennessee, but both of them had next to zero stats. When it came to, and really the year before, Hyatt was known more for dropping the ball than making plays, and then won the Biletnikoff, probably be a first or at worst a second round pick.
Right.
But and Tillman will get drafted. I don't know how high because his stats this year. I actually thought Tillman might consider coming back, but he decided to leave because he, again, as you know, he missed at least about half the season hurt. But, again, they developed both those guys, so they'll have Squirrel White. He had a touchdown catch in the bowl game. Let's see which other young receivers in this system they can plug in. And then they've got, an underrated running game back. Now, they have to replace some pieces on the offensive line because they had some vets over there that played much better than anticipated. So that's what's going to be interesting to me because one of the hardest things to do, it's that old saying, you can have a good year, but can you, when everybody's staring at you and thinking you're back to being a top 10 team, can you do it again? Now, if they do it again, it's going to be a huge step.
Georgia, obviously the best in the East. Tennessee is right now the second best in the East. I mean, with all the pieces that they have, I know they lost a lot, but is Tennessee the second best program in the East right now?
I mean, you'd have to say so, but I mean, the funny thing is, it's going to be interesting to see if how much South Carolina improves because they lost that shootout to Notre Dame, but they beat Tennessee late. They beat Clemson, and then Spencer Rattler used his functioning brain and decided to stay in school, which is what he needed to do, and because he needs more playing time and he needs more development. So that's going to be interesting. Can South Carolina take a leap? Now Kentucky's got Liam Cohen back. They may have the number 1 overall pick in the draft, which of course will, in my opinion, if that happens, there's going to be some people getting fired. But again, I think Levis is a tough kid. Think he deserves to get drafted. Think he deserves a chance. But to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft over Bryce Young is about as stupid as.
Yeah, I saw the latest, and they had.
It's about as stupid as the new Coke from years ago that lasted about a month.
They had Bryce Young going 4 to the Colts. So
I mean, he's still going high, but I'm just like, I'm sorry. I just watched both of them in college, and they're making excuses like, well, he didn't have a supporting cast, he didn't have an offensive line, he didn't have this. I actually think he had a good young receiver core. He didn't have Chris Rodriguez. He did by the 4th game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so. And I just remember what he did against – the difference is I saw what Bryce Young did against Ole Miss on the road in the second half and stepping up and winning the game, and I saw what Levis did, And, again, I think Alabama's offensive line was pretty good, but I don't think it was like 2020 dominant.
Right.
So I just think, once again, it's the Zach Taylor thing, Scott.
Yeah.
They're doing it again. They never learn. They're doing it again. Did you see what he did against Air? Did you see how far he threw it? Blah, blah, blah. Did you see how fast he is on the 40-yard dash? Or is Zach Wilson?
Yeah, the quarterback of the Jets.
My bad, Zach Wilson.
Zach Taylor was a good player.
Yeah, that's right.
Zach Taylor was good.
That's right. He sucks so bad I got his last name wrong.
So
yeah, but Zach Wilson's terrible.
Overreacting. So isn't it funny that going back to these coaches things, 2 years ago we were sitting at SEC Media Days, and we were saying which one of these hires, it was Brian Harsin, Josh Heupel, Shane Beamer, and Clark Lee, because they all came in together. And it was which one has the most upside, which one has the potential to win and win a lot of games. And because of the situation he was walking into, we said Brian Harsin was going to be the guy because of the way you can recruit at Auburn, the players that were already there, everything that was established at Auburn, that it was Brian Harsin that probably could have the most success because Tennessee had lost so much the year before Josh Heupel got there. South Carolina under Will Muschamp was disastrous, and we all knew the build-up that Clark Lee was going to have to do at Vanderbilt. And it's funny, Brian Harsin, the first one of that group fired. Josh Heupel, the first one to get the really big raise. Shane Beamer got a raise. He's at $6.2 million. And Clark Lee did some good things this year at Vanderbilt.
He did. I mean, they certainly took some strides at Vanderbilt. They nearly got to bowl eligibility, which was good for them. Now, they took a beating from Tennessee the last game of the regular season, but I think considering where Clark Lee was when he took the program over and the shape Derek Mason left it in, I think they've shown improvement. So I think he did a nice job. And then, like I said, with Kentucky, it's going to come down to Leary, the QB they took out of the portal from NC State, and Liam Cohen coming back in there and stabilizing the offense. Sangarello didn't work. I mean, it just didn't seem like it was kind of like a worse version of Bill O'Brien. They both are NFL guys, but I don't think Sangarello was a good fit. I think B.O.B. did a solid job, but he wasn't the elite fit that Nick Saban needed. I think he certainly did a good enough job, but I think he was more comfortable on the NFL level. His approach, NFL-wise, is probably a little bit better fit for going back to New England and trying to help Mac Jones. So that's what's going to be interesting. It's just going to be interesting to see, Tennessee was the surprise last year.
Yep.
Positively. Dirt Neck crashing and burning, which was glorious. It was my favorite part of the season, actually, was the biggest negative and disappointment. We'll see if they can improve it all. I mean, he's brought in some new coaches, not as many as I thought he would. Now, that's what's going to be really interesting. But, again, he's got A&M over a barrel because that stupid contract that they gave him. You have to see. So,
all right, let's get our first break into the morning. It's 256-576-4977.
Sorry, Zach Taylor. You're the coach of the year probably with the Bengals, and I called you Zach. I was referring to Zach Wilson, who sucks. I apologize.
Yes, he does. All right, we don't. We'll be back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It looks like we're clear of accidents now. We had that one in Priceville in Morgan County, 67 east of I-65, but it should be wrapping up. That one was a no injury. Everything else looks good. Traffic level nearing heavy all across the valley. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, "If you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself."
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
Rambo Marine in Hazel Green is your one-stop shop for all things boating. Whether you are ready to surf with the newest Malibu wake boat or cruise on a Cobalt or Barletta pontoon, we have a boat ready for you and your family. Rambo Marine provides exceptional service second to none, so that you are ready to hit the water in no time. Stop by Rambo Marine today. We know boats.
NFL playoff season is here, and the best place to catch all of the action, all the way up until the Super Bowl, is Humphrey's Bar and Grill. Don't miss Humphrey's Game Day Football Specials, $2.75 Miller Lite, Yingling, Coors Light Pints, $3.50 Yellow Hammer Gold Pints, $4 Fireball, anytime football is on. And with live music every night, there is no better place to party downtown than Humphrey's Bar and Grill. Humphrey's, always a party, never a cover. Located online at humphreysdowntown.com.
Streaming only on Peacock. From the mind of Ryan Johnson, the writer-director of Knives Out.
Miss Kale, you've got this gift. Always knowing the truth.
I only know if something is a lie. The real trick of it is to figure out why.
Natasha Lyonne is Charlie Kale.
It wasn't an accident. I think there's been a murder.
You watch too much Dateline.
A new 10-part mystery series.
Wolves on my fender. I gotta keep moving. I have been kind of a death magnet.
Poker Face, streaming January 26th, only on Peacock.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And you will be happy to know that I have worked it all out, and we will indeed be having lunch tomorrow over in Rome, Georgia.
There you go.
It's all planned out to where we will be having lunch with our listener Brandon tomorrow over in Rome, Georgia.
So Brandon is treating you and Steve to steak.
Yes.
There you go.
Or burgers, or
whatever's on the menu.
They have.
Yeah, because he did send us a picture of a burger and some okra yesterday.
Yes. So it has all been worked out. We will have photos, pictures. We will have it all for everybody to enjoy and everything. So yes, we are going to indeed have lunch tomorrow over at John Henry's in Rome, Georgia.
Yeah, we even had. I was talking to a listener last night, and he's been to Rome several times, been to several restaurants, but he'd never been to John Henry's. Been to, Italian places, Mexican, maybe even another competing steakhouse, but I don't think he had ever been to John Henry's.
So we will.
Oh, and including your dwarf.
Truett's Grill.
Yeah, Truett's Grill. He'd been there, yes.
Yeah, Truett's Grill. That is good. Because it's literally like almost right across from campus, so that's why it's easy to go to when you get over there. All right, 256-576-4977. You can be a part of the program this morning. And Joel Klatt, so Joel Klatt actually agrees with us in one way.
Yeah.
Okay? Take a listen to Joel. This is Joel Klatt when it comes to the NCAA.
Yeah. Can the adults enter the room, please, at some point? At some point. We've got, poor Jaden Rashada, where's he going to play? I don't know. Is he ever going to make his $13 million back? I've got no idea. Not his fault. Not even really Florida's fault. Was it shady of maybe their collective and some people? Yeah, probably. Okay. Was there some fault somewhere along the lines? Yes. Where was the ultimate fault? The ultimate fault lays at the feet of the people that created the vacuum in the first place. You create a vacuum, this process is going to happen. And yet that same group that created this vacuum and this mess at Florida wants to get involved at Michigan for impermissible contact during the COVID dead period.
Mailad.
Sand. Get out of my life. At some point, these programs are going to just say to themselves, we don't want anything to do with the NCAA. They've created our problems. Then they create more problems with their oversight into areas that we don't want them in the oversight business of. So they're going to leave.
Hell froze over or whatever, but I agree with Joel. They're a bunch of ambulance-chasing morons. They just don't, they could be nominated for Moron of the Year every day of every year for the way they handle things. That's why if I were Nick Saban, I would tell him to pound sand with Jeremy Pruitt.
That's where I was
Shove
leaning
it straight
to
up
that.
your rear end.
Yes,
We're hiring him anyway. Same way with you, Sankey. Sorry, I respect you. You're the commissioner of the league, but you channeled your inner dirt neck and basically tried to tell me at SEC Media Days you don't take. He did.
He sat there at the table and told us.
He sat there and lied straight to our faces and said that he doesn't try to block people from being hired, which is complete utter bull crap.
He was 2 feet from us and looked us in the eyes and said,
lied through his teeth. I don't know why bureaucrats like to do that or whatever, but they do. They're all politicians and they lie through their teeth.
That's where I was going with that whole Joel Klatt thing is because remember, we said about a week ago that Tennessee, we are approaching the 60-day mark for the NCAA to get back to Tennessee to let them know the findings and let them know everything that's coming on. Alabama needs a defensive coordinator. We all believe that Jeremy Pruitt will be that guy pending what we hear from the NCAA in Tennessee. And Michigan, Jim Harbaugh said, "Screw you to the NCAA. I'm not telling you anything."
Well, yeah,
so what should Alabama do? Should Alabama just go and say?
A good friend of mine in the media that said this. He said, "Lawyer up. Just lawyer up and tell them go stick, and we're hiring who we want to. Don't care because Auburn did it." Because Auburn knew what Hugh Freeze's background and what had happened on the field and off. But Hugh Freeze had been out of the league since like 17. Can
you say they did the same thing with Bruce Pearl too?
Yeah. Well, they hired him with a show cause, and they knew what they had to do.
Yeah.
So they in other words, they'd already done it one time, and so they did it again. And so Hugh Freeze spent several years out of the league. He was at Liberty, out of football for a year, and so again they went ahead and they hired him, knowing what he had done in the past, but knowing that he'd also beat Nick Saban twice and knowing that he's considered by people in the industry a heck of a football coach. So they hired him. If I'm Alabama, I'm doing the same thing with Jeremy Pruitt. When you go back and look at it, so much of that report is just pumped up bull crap. They paid somebody's hotel bills. All they did Tennessee, you just paid Nico Iamala, whatever his name is, $13 million, $9 million, whatever the hell it is. He's getting paid a hell of a lot of money, and if you say he's not, you're lying through your teeth. Well, all these kids are getting paid now.
Yes.
You just better hope they're worth 10 cents and that they can play. Because if they can't, you're in big, big trouble. But the one good thing about it is these collectives, and actually, I think these kids deserve a piece of the pie, but I'll just say this. There might be, quote-unquote, written contracts, but I'm sure they can be easily broken, and there's probably clauses maybe even these kids in their representation don't know about. So they ain't no – this is the one mantra we've been hearing. Kids ain't getting their money. So you better produce, or you're probably not going to be all of a sudden the check's probably not going to show up, so to speak. I mean, that's what I'm saying, because it's the Wild West. There is no real rules.
No, there is no. I mean, because right now, I mean, what we're finding out is that the NCAA is the NCAA has lost control of a lot of things within college football and college basketball. They've lost a lot of it.
Well, I think the NCAA was arrogant enough, too. They didn't think that the Ed O'Bannon stuff would ever be ratified,
right?
Where they would have to pay name, image, and likeness. They thought they'd just keep cashing checks from the NCAA tournament and everything else. And so I think that's why they weren't proactive with this deal. And they're going to have to be reactive as usual. And then, these state governments and the federal government's going to have to get involved. And they need to, because there's no way kids out of high school should be making NFL money. It's total stupidity. Because, again, just like we just mentioned Zach Wilson, he's not going to make it. He stinks. Well, some of these college quarterbacks are going to stink, too, coming from high school. Think how many of them bust.
That's true.
I mean, for every Bryce Young, there's a Blake Barnett.
But that's I'm saying. That's where I was going with that whole Joel Klatt was what does Alabama do? I mean, if Jeremy Pruitt comes out and they say, well, you know what, you got this, and this sanctions against the NCAA, does Alabama just say, screw it, we're going to hire you and we don't care. We're not going to talk to you as the NCAA. We're just, like you said, we're going to lawyer up. He's going to come coach, and that's going to be the end of it. Because what's the NCAA going to do to Jim Harbaugh and Michigan for not talking? Nothing. They can't do anything. They're not going to do anything. 256-576-4977. Got a minute to get in on the program real fast. Coming up a little bit later, we will go over some of the coordinator things. You can cross one name off the list. Say, well, let's get that break in real fast. Because you can cross one name off the offensive coordinator candidate list for Alabama. Who is it? We'll fill you in coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Scattered showers will be possible through a good majority of the afternoon, early into the evening. A good chunk of us are probably going to spend the day dry. Temperatures hanging out in the low and mid-50s. Dropping into the mid-30s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. A mostly cloudy or an overcast sky once again on Thursday afternoon. It is going to be a little cooler. Temperatures only climbing into the mid and upper 40s. Dropping into the mid-20s through the overnight, early into Friday mornings. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's got a wreck on 72 near Old Gurley Road. That one's coming in as an injury type. We may have some low-hanging wires on Green Mountain around Camelot, also around South Shawty. HPD is checking those areas. Popeye's famous chicken sandwich is only $4.99 with crispy tender chicken on a delicious toasted brioche bun. Love that chicken from Popeye's, University and Jordan, 72 in Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye's Skywatch Traffic Center.
What does it mean to be a part of the Southeastern Conference? That you scheduled your wedding and even your child's birth around your school's game? Of course. But it means more than that. It means you're home to hundreds of Fulbright, Truman, Goldwater, and Rhodes Scholars. It means starting out as the birthplace of American public higher education, and now leading the way in unmanned spacecraft. This is the SEC, and here it just means more. What does it mean to be a part of the Southeastern Conference? That there's an honest-to-goodness chandelier in your tailgate tent? Perhaps, but it means more than that. It means pioneering medical solutions to predict new flu viruses. It means leading globally diverse teams to eliminate starvation in developing countries. And it means being home to one of the nation's top cybersecurity programs. This is the SEC. And here, it just means more.
This is an Alabama legacy moment.
Few individuals in the history of American sport have possessed greater athletic ability than Bessemer, Alabama native Vincent Bo Jackson. Auburn University's second Heisman Trophy winner, a three-time All-SEC and two-time All-American selection, Jackson is the only running back in Auburn history to rush for more than 4,000 yards in a career. In 1986, both the NFL's Tampa Bay Buccaneers and MLB's Kansas City Royals drafted Jackson. Deciding not to play for the Buccaneers because they didn't want him to also play baseball, Jackson signed his first professional contract with the Royals. The next year, the Los Angeles Raiders drafted Jackson with the understanding that he would also be allowed to play baseball, making Jackson one of the few athletes to succeed in both professional football and baseball at the same time. In March 2013, ESPN Sports Science named Jackson the greatest athlete of all time. He was inducted into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame in 1996 and the College Football Hall of Fame in 1998.
Sponsored by the Alabama Bicentennial Commission, the ABA, and this station.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg.
This is Mike Greenberg. You're listening to 97.7 ESPN The Zone, your home of ESPN Radio, the Alabama Crimson Tide, Atlanta Braves baseball, Huntsville Havoc hockey, and the UAH Chargers.
All right, welcome back to Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Coming up here in just a second, we will be joined by Ryan Fowler here in just a second. I physically have to make this call right here, and see, there we go. We're actually getting this taken care of.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Ryan, you got us?
Yeah, you guys sound a little weird, but yeah.
Yeah, we're having to improvise on the fly today, dude. We're having a little phone issues due to some weather last night, so doing this through Google Phone. But hey, we are resourceful here.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate it.
As long as you got me.
Yeah, we got you. We got you all good. So there we go.
Got you. Ryan Fowler joining us. There it is. Host of the game.
We don't need to pay no fancy phone bills. We just do it all ourselves.
Yeah, we got you, man.
Hey.
There you go. So we're doing this Tide 109 from 2 to 6 every Monday through Friday. It's the host of the game, Ryan Fowler, native North Alabamian. How you doing this morning, brother?
I lost you.
All right, we got you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, host of the game, Ryan Fowler, Tide 109 from 2 to 6. What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Man, I'm outstanding. I hope you guys are having a great morning, and certainly a lot of Alabama football topics here and a lot of things to discuss. You got basketball with a high ranking, and certainly football having a lot of news around, coordinators and who's coming in and who's going to make the transition. And we're throwing up, Nick Saban always says we throw stuff up against a wall and see if it sticks. We did it for 4 hours yesterday. And,
obviously, the offensive coordinator position is the big topic. But before we went to break,
right,
we played a little clip of Joel Klatt kind of bashing the NCAA, saying basically they're just toothless. I mean, there's nothing to it. And we kind of related that to the defensive coordinator search for Alabama, that if Alabama just went out and hired Jeremy Pruitt, and Jeremy Pruitt ended up with a show cause, should Alabama just lawyer up and say, screw you, NCAA, we're just going to hire this guy no matter what because you guys are toothless, you're idiots?
Well, as much as I'd love to agree with you, Scott, and this is one thing that you have to admire of the Auburn Tigers. I mean, they do that. They don't listen to people. I mean, they just do what they want to do, and that's what they've always done. It really has worked out. I mean, if you think about Auburn just saying, hey, we don't listen to you guys. It was, if you want to go back to, something as recent as Cam Newton and say, hey, man, prove it. Show us that we paid him. You got the receipts, and they don't cooperate. So, and really, that's when it kind of hurts you, is they trick you into cooperating. If you look back at help me out, Drew. Was it Gene Marsh and Marie Robbins?
That's right. I was going to say Alabama in 97.
Okay, so when you look back at the way that they cooperated, then in 97, but then again in the early 2000s,
yeah,
I mean, they just cooperated and gave all the evidence. I mean, they threw Alabama under the bus and then backed over it. So Alabama, unless they change a mentality that's been there for as long as I can remember, they always bow to these people. I mean, it's like, and I don't know if it's just if they're afraid, if they just don't want to, alarm these guys. But I do like your approach, Scott. I think it would work. I mean, I think, and listen, when we talk about Jeremy Pruitt, we start kind of diving in to what exactly he did. It's peanuts.
Oh,
I mean, it is. Yeah, I mean, it is. So, if you believe what's coming out of Knoxville, then you're understanding that there's litigation here that they don't want to pay a $12.5 million buyout.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to make it more. But in return, that may come back to bite them, because if you're not paying the buyout, you're trying to plead to the NCAA, how much did we do right or wrong? So if you're admitting that you did something wrong. So Tennessee's kind of at a catch-22. I'll be kind of curious to see. And I think we're expecting – they filed their motion to the NCAA, their response, on 11/24/2022. The NCAA has until 60 days to respond. And if I've got my math correct, that's here within the next 24 to 36 hours. Mm-hmm. Now, at what point do we know about it publicly? I think that's the key. And understanding that Tennessee knows that Jeremy Pruitt, I mean, they know that he's a high target of Alabama and a competition, and especially with a guy that loves donuts.
Fatimus Maximus, yeah.
He's going to put out a lot of information, and this is
he's such a fine, upstanding individual.
Oh, quality, absolutely.
Wouldn't piss on him if he's on fire.
I knew Drew was going to say that, so that's why I left the pause there. But but you look at, I mean, he definitely had an axe to grind prior to Nick Saban, and then Nick Saban was kind of a contribution to get him tapped on out. So anything you hear out of Knoxville, I'm hesitant to believe, because there's that litigation of that $12.5 million buyout that they're refusing to pay. And I don't think Jeremy's got any of that. So he's lawyered up. They've lawyered up. It'll never make it to a courtroom. It'll never make it to a deposition, because if you put Philip Fulmer, I mean, how many times did he avoid a deposition in the state a few years ago? It'll never make it to that point. So that's why Jeremy Pruitt's smart, just to go get the best lawyer and say, okay, sure, let's all go and raise our right hand and swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. And then you start asking questions. That would not be good. It would not be good. It would not be good for either party, Jeremy or Philip. But I doubt it ever makes it that far.
Yeah, you're right. No question about it. We're talking to Ryan Fowler here, talking some Alabama football on this Wednesday morning hump day edition of Talkin' Ball here. And Ryan, I would be interested, was the reaction from your callers and everybody yesterday and during the 4 hours, was it more of relief that Bill O'Brien's gone? Are they ecstatic, or what was the take, and what were their thoughts on the direction Nick Saban goes?
Well, they had a few people. It was not like the Pete Golding celebration. That happened 3 minutes into the show, so that was a little different celebration. I mean, there was victory lap after victory lap.
Well, the host probably was happy too.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped me in my tracks because I did an opening monologue, and I said that I thought something could come down. And I said, we have the benefit of being on in the afternoon on a Friday, and a lot of times there's a news dump right when the end. And not that this was, but it was something I was talking about. I said, well, this could be something. And in like 3-4 minutes into this opening monologue, I was fixing to feature Brent Beard, and Brent sent me a message, says, you need to look at this. And I was already so focused, and I looked down at my phone, and I'm trying to do it while I'm talking. And I went, well, ladies and gentlemen, we we have breaking news. There it is. There it is. And I'm always so hesitant now because of so many fake accounts.
Oh, that's true. Jimmy Himes, he's got about 40.
Yeah, well, no, this came from Chris Lowe.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
Yeah, and so I'm sitting there watching, I'm going, okay, is this really – and so that was a victory lap. I mean, it was like a complete celebration. I mean, we were throwing popcorn and champagne, and, I mean, it was – so Bill O'Brien is a guy that is liked by some but hated by most. He, you think about what he was able to do with Bryce Young, winning a Heisman Trophy, getting Alabama to a national title. And then this year, I think, was dampened by the injury to Bryce Young. And so how much do you give to Bill O'Brien? And then how much do you kind of give him a mulligan? Did he call a perfect game? No, I don't think. I mean, I think he would probably tell you that. I spoke to Bill O'Brien a couple of times, and, he told me, I think the way that he said it, we're a good team, not a great team. And I think that's probably the way I would describe him. He was a good OC, not a great OC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Bill O'Brien, you look at it, I mean, the Alabama averaged – we've had a lot of people call in, and they were talking about, hey – this Alabama team averaged 40-some points a game, but Bill O'Brien was out-coached in several moments this year. Do you feel like Bill O'Brien was out-coached on the offensive side at all this year?
Well, I go back, and it's Bryce Young not being able to practice.
Yeah, the injury.
For a number of weeks, 4 to 6 weeks of not being able to throw a football, I think is a valid argument. I mean, you cannot – for one, and I think Nick Saban has spoke, publicly about this. It hurts your development of certain positions.
Mm-hmm.
You're not able to get in sync with wide receivers. And keep in mind, you're still trying to groom your receivers, which was a weakness for this team. And I think some of that was probably because of Bryce Young not able to throw a ball in practice. My understanding is for multiple weeks that they would take two quarterbacks. They would run the plays that they wanted to run. Bryce Young would move to the right or the left, whatever the play was designed to do, and there would be another quarterback that would be behind him that would throw the football.
Wow.
I mean, let's kind of work that out in your brain of how that kind of works out, that Bryce is not throwing, but you still try to get in sync with your wide receivers. I mean, there's a reason why, Patrick Mahomes will practice this week. I mean, he'll throw the football. And it's all about that. So to me, I give a mulligan for Bill O'Brien to that. I'd love to be able to see and judge him based on, a full work with healthy, Bryce Young. And we'll see what he did with the backup quarterbacks because we're going to see a quarterback competition. So I think it's kind of the jury's still out. But I gave him a B. I thought he had a B performance in Tuscaloosa. Could he? The Tennessee game is the one that I look back and I think, man, could you have just did a little bit of something there to get Will Reichert a little closer? Thought you could have taken the clock out of it. That would have given you an opportunity. But Alabama just, they shot themselves in the foot too many times. Wasn't physical enough. But it was almost like our offense really didn't have an identity. Our identity was Bryce Young. What can he do to make the plays? And I think that's what they did. They almost turned it over to him.
Well, and that's a perfect segue now. I think Nick Saban wants to get back to being physical. I made this statement yesterday. It took till, the halftime of the 10th game against Ole Miss to find the formula and really find their identity late, which was, sticking with the run, not abandoning it, helping Bryce. It also helped the wide receivers. Well, as I went to break, I was sort of hinting with my Darth Vader's out, so no Dan Mullen. Your good friend Chris Lowe reported that last night. Your thoughts on where Nick Saban goes for offensive coordinator?
So Chris did report that last night?
Yeah, Chris put out that Dan Mullen is happy and content doing what he's doing, which is TV analyst, not wanting to get back into it right now.
Yeah, saying he's not a candidate at Alabama.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, but I knew that Dan Mullen was out.
Yes.
He said, I've talked to several people close to Dan Mullen is not a candidate for. Okay. Well, yeah, and that's what we talked about yesterday. I presented that to my audience and told them that I thought that, because, see, we were hearing Dan Mullen had a strong interest, here initially. So sometimes when you don't get that phone call, you kind of pretend like you're content. You know what I mean? Like, if the phone call never rings, but it's supposed to ring, and you keep hearing that it is going to ring, you almost pretend like, well, I'm very content. So a lot of times that's a PR thing because is there really that big of an interest for Dan Mullen? I don't know. I don't know, but I know that the audience was probably just as happy that Dan Mullen, when I told them that I didn't think he was no longer a candidate, they were just about as happy as Bill O'Brien departing. So what I did is I made them not just counter with no Dan Mullen, but you've got to tell me who you want. Okay, so you don't want Dan Mullen. Who do you want? And Joe Brady got a ton of votes. I know you guys have probably talked about him.
Mm-hmm.
Levy got a couple of votes, but then this name by the name of Scott Frost kind of developed a little bit.
Well, there you go.
That was just some people throwing out stuff. And listen, you guys will have to help me out with the name, but I think it's like Scott Thatcher or Thatcher. It's the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, so someone brought that up and said, with what he's been able to do with Jalen and that offense, Nick Saban probably looks at it and says, hey, man, you're doing something that I couldn't get done in Tuscaloosa. Maybe he would respect, that side of things. But there's just a lot of different options. I'm hearing more on the defensive side of the football than I am the offense. And really, to me, the Jeremy Pruitt makes more sense because as you look around the scenery of the offensive coordinator available options, it makes sense for Jeremy Pruitt because you wouldn't have to spend as much time coaching him into what you want him to do. He knows what you want from him, and so you know him. So that to me opens it up on the offensive side to where you're kind of you're limitless. I mean, you've got a lot of different options out there that you can go with, and you're not just limited to somebody that you think knows your system. So that to me gives you options. But I think we're all watching Knoxville, and I think the next 24 to 36 hours, we're going to hear something, coming out of there.
Well, we are. And your final thought here: how many basketball phone calls you getting?
Oh, we're getting a few. Yeah, we're getting a few. Yeah,
you're number 2 in the country, man. Hadn't happened since the days of Mark Gottfried, and hopefully it'll last longer than that.
We do. Yeah, it's and we went to number 1 under Mark Gottfried.
We did.
Too. We went to Utah, and so you look back, and I think it lasted a week. It may have lasted a couple of days.
You're 100% right. It was a week.
Yeah, so we went to the next time that we voted. And Alabama had already got beat out in Utah, out in Salt Lake, and so here we are. But I mean, what a season! I'm not a historian on that, but I have to trust people like you and many others telling me that you see the best start since 1976, 1977. The highest ranking in 20 years. The depth of this team. Aaron Torres told me last week to take my Southwest points and buy my ticket to Houston. That's what he told me.
Oh, wow.
So, that's Torres is high on this team. He thinks they're number 1 team in the country. You guys should get him on. He is high on this basketball team as anybody we talk to. So he's a lot of fun to visit because he knows the sport as well as you and many others. But he's a lot of fun to pick his brain, and he thinks this team is set up to really do a lot of damage in the tournament.
Well, we enjoy picking your brain. Thank you for joining us and hanging with us here and talking some Alabama football, a little bit of hoops. It's going to be a great show from 2 to 6 later today on Tide 109, The Game with Ryan Fowler. Appreciate it, brother.
Hey, it's always an honor. You guys have a great morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. We've got to get a break in. More Talking Ball when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Good morning. One accident on 72 near Old Gurley Road. That one did report with some injury. That's our only working accident. Everything else looks good this morning. You be careful. Watch out for those slick streets. You could lose up to 4 sizes in 4 weeks with the 2030 Fast Track program. Find out more at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Who knows comfort? Well, comfort is our middle name. If your home isn't as comfortable as you want it to be, we can fix that. We service all makes and brands of heating and cooling systems, even if we didn't install them. So give us a call. Environmental Comfort Systems. Visit our website at envcomfort.com. We are your independently owned American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Alabama license number 92314. Environmental Comfort Systems. That's envcomfort.com.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Champy's Famous Fried Chicken started in Chattanooga, but the history of the fried chicken, hand-rolled Mississippi Delta tamales, and comfort food sides started decades before. Champy's Famous Fried Chicken is made from an old family recipe from down in the Delta, and everything is fresh and homemade, including all of the sides and desserts. Come visit Champy's Famous Fried Chicken. You'll find it's the best fried chicken and hand-rolled tamales you've ever had. On Madison Boulevard in the old Bison's location in the Publix Plaza with 22 taps in the full-service bar and 2 outdoor patios. See ya at Champy's.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing: helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit AVIQHSV.com.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet and Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet and Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
All right, indeed. Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, Talking Ball. Make sure you have that app handy because you'll need it for tonight. Alabama basketball at home tonight, taking on Mississippi State. Late tip, 8 o'clock tip inside Coleman Coliseum. So you want to make sure you have that app handy. So head to your app store, marketplace, download the 97.7 ESPN, the Zone app, so you can have all of the fun of tonight's game in the palm of your hands. Other SEC action for tonight. 4th-ranked Tennessee will welcome Georgia. Florida will welcome South Carolina tonight. And then you have Auburn, 15th-ranked Auburn, welcoming Texas A&M. And, of course, Auburn has the nation's longest home winning streak thanks to Gonzaga losing last week. This will be the first game for Auburn at home since obtaining said winning streak, because, remember, they were on the road at South Carolina that first game. So this is their first time actually back at home.
It is, and then it also, too, you look at it, last night some interesting results. LSU is bottomed out. You know, they're bad. They scored 40 points against Ernest T. Bass, a.k.a. Eric Walmart.
They scored 14, is it, at the half, I think, or 16 at the half?
Yeah, they ended up with 40,
in a half.
60-40. So LSU's basically – but let's understand something. They played a weak non-conference schedule, and they did upset Arkansas early at home, but they have like an Ohio Valley Conference roster, and it's really not their fault. It's Western Union's. Yeah. Western Union left them in a bind. They had to build a completely new roster, and so they're really starting over. I would say South Kakalaki and LSU are probably the two worst teams in the league. Now, our good friend Kobe Brown was back last night, and he played very well. Mizzou went on the road and drilled Ole Miss, so a good win for Mizzou. They still have a chance to make the NCAA tournament. They still got a lot of basketball to play. Kobe had 34 minutes, 18 points, played very, very well, and was able to also had 5 boards. So he proved his worth to Missouri because they're a lot better team when he's on the court. And so they got an 89-77 win. And then the Big Blue Nation, 69-53, Scott. They go to Nashville, and it looks like they're starting to fix things,
Yeah.
But so
it does.
The Kentucky big road win in Nashville, and a Vandy team that's been playing much better. Yep. So that was a positive for Kentucky going on the road and winning that impressively. Still don't understand, and I never will, how they lost to South Kakalaki.
That may be. But look, when you look at the college basketball season, the entire college basketball season, not just the SEC season, when you look at the entire college basketball season, that may be the biggest surprise of 2022.
Yeah.
Biggest surprise.
Biggest upset.
Everything. I mean, all in one. Gonzaga losing at home. South Carolina beating Kentucky in
But at least Lyle Maryland has a winning record.
Yes.
South Kakalaki lost by 40 at home to Tennessee.
And everybody else. All right. Hour 2 next.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, it's hour 2. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome back on a Wednesday morning. Hour 2 is underway, so if you missed hour number 1, we talked about Josh Heupel getting a raise. We talked about Jeremy Pruitt and what will Alabama do there. And you know, like we said, we were talking about it last week, that the NCAA had 60 days to respond to Tennessee. We feel like that could happen any day, any moment, as far as the NCAA getting back to Tennessee, as far as their notification, I guess, of retribution, what will happen to them on the hands of the NCAA. That is coming up, we expect, very soon. But we go back to the Alabama offensive coordinator position. And if you missed us in hour number 1, we had Ryan Fowler on, and we kind of alluded to it there in that interview, that you can cross Dan Mullen's name off the list. Now, whether or not he was a true potential candidate or just somebody that people were throwing a name on the wall and hoping it stuck, but no, Dan Mullen will not be in Tuscaloosa.
No, he will not, and I never really bought that. I mean, I know there were some people out there that said he was the leading candidate or someone of high interest, but I never thought that Dan Mullen was going to be the offensive coordinator. It just didn't seem like a fit to me.
Right.
I had other people in the media that I respect that thought it would be, but I just didn't think Dan Mullen and Nick Saban would mesh, and I never bought that. There's a ton of smoke with Jeff Lebby, but I honestly think when it's all said and done, it won't be him either. To me, the best fit would be Joe Brady, because he's a quarterback whisperer. And I know I was asked this a bunch yesterday. Well, he doesn't like to recruit. Well, guess what? At the offensive coordinator job at Alabama, you're basically just recruiting quarterbacks. I mean, I don't think Bill O'Brien is a guy that loves recruiting. So even Steve Sarkisian, you don't have to do a ton of recruiting as the OC for Alabama. Joe Brady put together one of the best offenses we've ever seen in college football at LSU. Alabama's got a lot of weapons. They've got some young quarterbacks like a Jalen Milroe, like a Ty Simpson, like Eli Holstein, Dylan Lonergan. So I think he would do an outstanding job. Now, he may want to stay in the NFL. You know, there was reports that he was already lining up some interviews maybe with the Jets, people like that. But he's the quarterback coach at the Buffalo Bills. He just got done. I even heard through the grapevine he may have contacted Nick Saban to gauge his interest. And tell him he was interested in the job. So we'll see. And there's reports out there that Saban met with a quote-unquote mystery candidate. We don't know who it is, but it was somebody on the offensive side of the ball before Bill O'Brien announced that he was going to the New England Patriots. So we will see, but it's going to be interesting.
All right, so that's your Alabama offensive coordinator update. Nothing else new to report there. Still just a bunch of speculation, rumors, and potential candidates. What we do know for sure, and we ended hour number 1 by going over some SEC basketball scores. Tonight, 8 o'clock, Alabama, double-digit favorite again, this time welcoming Mississippi State. And Nate Oates talking complacency.
I mean, obviously, coaching as long as I have, it's natural that you'd have to fight it when you're having success like we have right now. But I think this group's done a really good job fighting it on their own. You know, we talk about not getting complacent and, you know, how maybe last year's team did after we had some early non-conference wins. But I think this group's pretty mature, and I think the depth, the maturity, the professionalism, the depth of the team, all of it helps. You know, like, guys are mature and understand what we've got at stake. You know, we're playing for number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. We're playing for SEC championship. You can't afford to have a letdown. If you want to be playing your best basketball in March, you've got to continue to get better every game. So I think there's a maturity about them. I think we've got a lot of guys that are very professional. I mean, you think of the freshmen and how they act like they're into get better at basketball. They're in to make themselves better, and they understand they themselves individually have to get better. And then, the depth of the team, guys are challenging each other in practice every day. I mean, you look at, we've got 11 guys that can all really play.
All right, so that is a little bit there of Nate Oates talking about complacency, and he kind of hit it on the head. They understand that right now is not the time to be playing your best basketball. It's in March, and it's number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament and winning an SEC championship. We've seen this Alabama team play. I mean, we know LSU is not very good, but Alabama was firing completely on all cylinders in that LSU game. We've seen them win by double digits pretty much every conference game. It's defense, it's offense. Ceiling-wise, how high can this Alabama team go? How much better can they get from what we're seeing right now, night in and night out on the court?
Well, I mean, they can get more consistent. I mean, they went through some lulls against Missouri. They struggled for much of the first half, went on a run at the end of half number 1 to go up 10 at halftime, then came out the start of the second half and built the lead to over 20. I think it reached 21, but Mizzou was able to make a run and make it uncomfortable at least and get back within 13. Then Ryland Griffin made a 3, and Alabama was able to keep them at arm's length. So they haven't, at times played a complete 40 minutes. I mean, they were up 23 in Nashville, and Vandy got as close as 6, I believe, late in the game. Now, never threatened to take the lead or never got it any closer than that. Right. And then Alabama won by 12. But again, so Alabama can be more consistent. There are times that they don't shoot it well enough. Now, since Jaden Bradley became a starter after Namari Burnett's injury, it's been much, much better with the turnovers. They haven't turned it over nearly as much. They've protected the basketball. And I think they've been still a good defensive team because Bradley defends. It was interesting, Nate Oates, you were just playing some of his audio from yesterday, that he was asked about Namari Burnett and getting him back in the lineup and, would he start again? And he said, well, we'd have to take it back and take a look at it because we've been playing pretty good. To me, I just took that as no.
Right.
I mean, I think you've got a good formula with Jaden Bradley and Sears. Sears can play off of him. Sears is a scorer. And still getting Amari some minutes. I mean, he can make an open 3. He can certainly defend, and he's going to have a role on the team. But I think you found that formula with Jaden Bradley because it's made Alabama even better and tougher to deal with because if they don't turn the ball over, as good as they are defensively, as good as they are on the glass, and, of course, Coach Oates said that he didn't think they were as good as they should have been against Missouri on the glass. They still won the battle. I think it was like 53-45. So, both teams, kind of stacked up the rebounds. But, again, he wants them to be a little more consistent there. But they also had to play a different type of lineup against Mizzou because Mizzou went small. Right. And then that's why Noah Clowney played a lot of 5, and they didn't play Bediako as much.
So Mississippi State, when Alabama went to Starkville, Mississippi State was feeling good. This was a team that had a
like
good
11-1, I think.
Yeah, they had a good preseason. Mm-hmm. They had climbed inside the top 25. Alabama goes over there, extinguishes that. How much has this Mississippi State team changed? Nate Oates kind of alluded to it that, they're not going to miss every shot like they did the first time around. They're not going to miss their free throws like they did probably that first time around. Is this another double-digit win that we've accustomed to see for Alabama tonight?
I mean, potentially. You got to go out and do it. I mean, Tulu Smith is a nice big, but I don't think and DJ Jeffries is athletic. He can get out. He can run in transition. He can make shots potentially, but they don't have great guard play at Mississippi State. I think that's been hurting them. I think this sets up if Alabama's got their minds right. I think it could be another nice, comfortable win for them. Now they have to go out and do that, and then of course then you have to get ready for Oklahoma, the SEC Big 12 Challenge, and there are some tough matchups for the league coming up this Saturday. But I will say this, and who would have thought this 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago we were talking about Calipari being done, being fired, and all this, and would they pay a $50 million buyout, which we said they wouldn't, and everybody was heaping dirt on Kentucky. And now Kentucky's turned it around after their, rock bottom disaster where people were calling in, whining and crying and bawling their eyes out because they lost one game to South Carolina.
Right,
But,
right.
I mean, it just goes to show you the passion for Kentucky basketball. But Calipari seems to be figuring things out, and now you're going to be playing a Kansas team that's lost 3 in a row under Bill Self, which hardly ever happens.
Oh, but we're not supposed to play that game now.
I know, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be to see how far this Kentucky team has come, where they're defending better. We talked to Brandon Ramsey of Kentucky Sports Radio about that, earlier this week, and
Kansas is like on the roller coaster now as well.
I think Kansas will be back, but I mean they are struggling, and they don't have a lot of scorers on their team. They've got about 3 guys that score the ball. And Grady Dick's one of them. He's a great player. But, again, I don't think it's a vintage Kansas team either. And the Big 12 is really good. It's better than the SEC. I'll go ahead and say that. The SEC, I don't think it's as deep a league as we thought. I think, probably, maybe 6 teams get into the NCAA tournament. It's not quite
Alabama,
as good.
Alabama, Tennessee, if Auburn stays course, Auburn would be
Kentucky.
3.
Kentucky
would be 4.
I think Mizzou's got a shot because they're 15-5. That win on the road at Ole Miss being impressive. I think they've got a shot to do it. No doubt about that.
Maybe Mississippi State.
No,
maybe Arkansas.
Arkansas potentially. They're talented enough. If Ernest T can get everybody lined up and they can start playing better. They've won 2 in a row after that disastrous. I think they were 1-5. So if they could get to 10-8. Something like that. I think Arkansas. Now they wouldn't be a great seed.
Yeah, they'd be.
Yeah, but I think, and then we'll see with Texas A&M. You'll learn a lot about A&M tonight to see how they compete at Neville Arena, where Auburn has the longest winning streak in college basketball.
Yeah, they got Auburn, and then Texas A&M is home with Vanderbilt on Saturday. They are not part of the Big 12 SEC Challenge. They have Vanderbilt on Saturday against Texas A&M.
So that's what I'm saying. We'll find out about A&M because they were 5-0, and they did not have a good pre-conference, and that's why they need to have a good conference schedule to give themselves an opportunity to potentially, be. And again, they're another team that wouldn't be a great seed. I'm thinking a 9 or a 10. So if they can, get there, but
the SEC could theoretically end up with 4 or 5 teams in the tournament. That's it.
Yeah, it could be as little as 5, but it's just going to depend on Texas A&M and Arkansas and if they can rally. Because you remember Arkansas was a top 10 team in the preseason. Right, that's before they lost Trevor Brazile, and that's before Nick Smith went off to California because he can't stand the coach. And we'll see if he comes back in February to try to save the day for the Hogs. Who knows?
All right, 256-576-4977. I keep giving that out. Are the phone lines working? No. I keep seeing you pick up the phone.
Yeah, you picked up the phone, so
I keep. That's why I don't know if they're working or not.
It's unfortunate because people are calling in to try to get onto the show, but sadly,
all right. What are they? What do they want? They're telling us what they want or anything. Because we can always answer their question even though they're not giving us a question.
Well, I will admit, a lot of them is agreeing with Drew, on the political side of things. I'll give them that.
Really? What are they saying? What are they saying?
About politicians and how kind of the higher ups in the sports world are aching to politicians and how they're all trash.
See? So they are in agreement with you this morning.
So our issue is people can call in, we just can't patch them through.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess.
So if you got your opinion, give it to Bailey, 256-576-4977.
I'm flying by the seat of our pants, man. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this show. It's been a great morning. 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a new wreck in Morgan County, 1000 block of Mount Zion Road. Sounds like a single vehicle slid off the road there. No injury reported. Your Old Gurley Road did report an injury. Still may be working on clearing that one. Do you know who to call when you need a heart doctor? You could write this name down now so you have it in the future. Dr. Randall Burns is at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue, where they have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
At Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, people call the award-winning burgers totally insane, which is a compliment because Bad Daddy's Burgers are just that. Chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness built with premium Angus beef. They're bold and they're bad. Pair one with one of their signature cocktails or assortment of local craft brews. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, 2317 Memorial Parkway. Check out our menu and even order online at BadDaddy'sBurgerBar.com.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Streaming only on Peacock. From the mind of Ryan Johnson, the writer-director of Knives Out.
Miss Gale, you've got this gift. Always knowing the truth.
I only know if something is alive. The real trick of it is to figure out why.
Natasha Lyonne is Charlie Cale.
It wasn't an accident. I think there's been a murder.
You watch too much Dateline.
A new 10-part mystery series.
Wolves on my fender. I gotta keep moving. I have been kind of a death magnet.
Poker Face, streaming January 26th, only on Peacock.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again, proud to be a sponsor of All Things Football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing, helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. I'm always just trying to figure out the music when we get it to coming back, and I have no idea what song that is. I know most of them, but I don't know that song. Ooh. I don't even know what genre or what wherever that even falls into.
Well, I do have a scheduling update, and our good friend Jimmy Lay will remind everybody. There would have been a top 5 matchup in 4A basketball last night, but it's been moved to Saturday at Westminster at 5:30. There was no game last night with Anniston traveling to Westminster. There's some travel and transportation issues from Anniston, so the Westminster Wildcats will be back at it as they're number 1 in 4A, and they're going to be hosting Anniston. They've already won over there, and they're going to be trying to sweep the Bulldogs, and that's going to take place on Saturday at 5:30. We had some results last night. Congrats to the Austin Black Bears, 47-43 win over Luther Tiggs and Bob Jones. They are now 5-0, and they have clinched the area championship. It will be played over at Austin High School. Desmond Phillips in his first year. Great job by his guys, as they've been playing really good basketball since the Huntsville City Classic, really turning it on in area play. And then the Huntsville Crimson Panthers, 73-28 road win last night against the Albertville Aggies and Dylan Bunnell. Now that game, we talked about it yesterday, Scott, the game against Grissom will be for all the marbles, basically. It's going to be for the area championship. If Grissom wins this thing, they will basically have a chance to clinch it. It wouldn't be totally over. Huntsville would be hosting Sparkman the next Tuesday. Could come down to a coin flip. Now, if Huntsville wins, it is. Huntsville would clinch it. But the area championship, 7A Area 7, still very much up in the air, but we now know it will be either Huntsville or either Grissom. And the Sparkman Senators, who took a tough one last night. They played the number 1 team in 5A, Ramsey, who's now won 9 in a row in that 256-205 challenge. 61-41 win for Ramsey at Sparkman. So, but the Senators will be locked into that 2-3 game, no matter where it is, whether it's Huntsville or Grissom. And then, of course, the Albertville Aggies will be the 4 seed.
All right, 256-576-4977. You can't join the show theoretically, but you can always tell Bailey your question or comment, and then we'll discuss it. That's how we're going to do it this morning. So 256-576-4977. Just tell Bailey what you want to get off your chest, and then Bailey will relay it to us. See, that's if we would have known that's how we had to do it.
I'm happy to be the viewer's personal therapist.
I just forwarded Scott some information, though. I mean, Brandon's even suggesting they'd have their own reality TV show on the way to Rome.
Yeah, this is what Brandon is suggesting for tomorrow.
Yeah, he wants some Tokyo Drift Cannonball Run kind of stuff going on.
He wants Tokyo Drift and I to get a vehicle, 2 cars from McCurry Motors.
Well, he mentioned Smokey and the Bandit, but no, this would be Cannonball Run. People forget about Cannonball Run.
Oh, my God. Dom DeLuise.
and Bert was in those.
Yes.
But don't forget Cannonball Run. If you guys were racing each other, that's what it would be, Cannonball Run.
So he wants us to get 2 cars from McCurry Motors, fill them with beer, and race them to Rome, Georgia. If you happen to go full jackass and completely total them to the point you have to return them in rollbacks, at least you got the dash footage. So that is what he is wanting Tokyo Drift and I to do tomorrow. So here is what I'm thinking that we do tomorrow.
And remember, Dom DeLuise was JJ. Dun, 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 dun.
He was the best.
Yeah, he would put on his mask. Good. I could see Steve putting on his mask and going full throttle Cannonball
So Steve
Run.
would be Dom DeLuise.
Oh, he would. He would. Bam!
See, Bailey, you need to look up Cannonball Run. I guarantee you that is way before your time.
Oh, Bailey,
I've seen Cannonball Run. What do you mean?
I would not have expected you to have watched Cannonball Run.
But I believe there was a Cannonball Run 2 as well.
There was, and it was just like Smokey and the Bandit 3. They never should have made it.
Yeah, but I say, is it kind of like Caddyshack 2?
Yes, never should have made Caddyshack. Now, with Caddyshack 2, though, I'm becoming under the impression that they weren't trying to be like Caddyshack. Like, they just made it to be just dumb anyway. But they never should have made Caddyshack 2 because, you cannot mess with Caddyshack. But here is what I'm thinking we do tomorrow. I'm thinking when we start hitting the curves tomorrow, that I'm just going to have to Facebook Live this drive with Tokyo Drift tomorrow, just so that people understand what it's like seriously to ride with him going through the curbs. Or put some video up on this because, it is interesting when you ride with the Tokyo Drift.
Oh, it is.
So,
never boring.
Nope. But that's what I'm thinking we do tomorrow. And then also I did tell we will be Facebooking live our dinner at John Henry's so that people can understand what we are. If indeed we are getting the full Monty, I guess you could say, the full steak, people need to see it.
Yeah.
All right, so Alabama does have an offensive coordinator position open and a defensive coordinator position open. Getting a lot of attention here, but around college football, keep in mind, Jim Harbaugh is looking for a co-offensive coordinator and a quarterback's
Matt
coach.
Weiss got the zig.
Yep, so he needs one. Miami needs a quarterback's coach.
They need a lot of things, a lot more than just that. When Middle Tennessee is basically, giving you the business, you need a lot more than just a quarterback's coach.
Mike Loxley needs an offensive coordinator at Maryland. That's another high-profile position that's open.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost a lot of coaches, man. They win 8 games. He does have Talia Tagovailoa coming back for his last season. So
Dirtneck needs a linebackers coach.
He needs a lot of things. He needs a lobotomy.
Bert needs a running backs coach there at Illinois.
Yeah.
Virginia needs a wide receivers coach. So those are some of the big Power 5 programs that are also searching for coaches at this time. So Alabama Alabama jumps to the list in 48 hours with the most high-profile positions opening. It's the biggest high-profile job out there in America right now. What do you think, offensive coordinator-wise, not person, money-wise, Alabama's going to have to pay?
I mean,
are we talking?
I would say $1.5 to $2 million more than likely.
All right.
I mean, B.O.B. made over $1 million a year. And Pete Golding somehow was making 1.7 to be good, not elite. So they're going to pay. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt hopefully will be the DC. I think he's the best fit. I would imagine
$2 million?
1.5 to 2 as well. I mean, certainly Alabama has the wherewithal to pay that kind of thing. I think they need to pay the defensive line coach $1 million a year and need to go get him from Texas and get Roach out of town. So, that's what they need to do. So
you have not been a fan of Freddie Roach.
Not at all. Sorry. Great player at Brooks. Played for Bob Gotts. He's a great friend of the show. Hell of a high school player. Good college player. Not a great defensive line coach. Sorry. And I don't care what recruiting rankings say. I don't care, what I know what I watched at Alabama, and the D-line was good, not great. I don't think guys are getting developed properly. And when you don't know the name of Jordan Hall and you can't, get Peter Woods, which is an unmitigated disaster, then you don't need to be the defensive line coach at Alabama. I'm sorry. Period. End of story.
Move on. Cut bait. All right. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to our final break not our final break. We're going to move on to our next to last break of the morning. Because when we come back, we'll bring in our interview. We've got to talk some more basketball and football as well. Bring in our last guest of the morning when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Scattered showers will be possible through a good majority of the afternoon, early into the evening. A good chunk of us are probably going to spend the day dry. Temperatures hanging out in the low and mid-50s. Dropping into the mid-30s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. A mostly cloudy or an overcast sky once again on Thursday afternoon. It is going to be a little cooler. Temperatures only climbing into the mid and upper 40s. Dropping into the mid-20s through the overnight, early into Friday morning. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It looks like that wreck on the Parkway just south of 565 is gone. That one was on the northbound side. Got one at Bell Factory and River Downs. It's waiting on a trooper. Got the 1000 block of Mount Zion Road in Morgan County. Single vehicle off. 72, an old girlie had an injury involved. That one should be about wrapped up. They've already taken it off the board. No hose, no mask. You can ask Dr. Sandman, that's Dr. Sandlin, for the medically proven benefits of the Somnodent for sleep apnea and for snoring. Dr. Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Wash your hands. Avoid sick people and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station. Wash your hands. Avoid sick people and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
1 in 3 adults in America have pre-diabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mom my. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
From the Alabama Crimson Tide to the Atlanta Braves, we are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone with Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, and we were talking about positions that need to be filled, and we've talked about some of the other jobs that need to be filled. Miami's got a job that needs to be filled. Alabama's obviously got a lot of jobs, a lot of things happening, but Drew, there's a couple of programs that are on the rise this offseason.
No question. And probably one of the biggest surprises. We talked about Tennessee being a surprise, but one of the biggest was Florida State and what Mike Norvell did in turning this program around completely. And it all started in New Orleans when they were able to outlast LSU and win that game in dramatic fashion in 24-23, and it got them off on the right foot. We saw a dramatic improvement on both sides of the ball from them, and now they're going into next season. Some even have them in the top 5 in the country, a potential college football playoff participant. It's been really a stunning turnaround because, trust me, and I credit Coach Norvell, it was a mess, a total complete mess.
Disaster.
that he had to clean up. And our next guest, it's been a couple of years since we've caught up with him, but he does a great job as the managing editor. We've also had Gene Williams on. They're warchant.com, and now they are a part of on3sports.com. And Ira's been good enough to join us this morning on the phone lines. Ira, welcome back to Huntsville. You were Drew and Scott. Good morning.
Thanks, guys. How you guys doing?
We are doing well. And trust me, I watched you guys YouTube, which is outstanding, and I felt for you guys a couple of years. It was hard doing those post-game raps, man. When Florida State looks so bad, and we're talking the crowds are so. I used to joke, 2 dogs and a cat, and there's nobody at the game, but it totally kind of flipped the script this year. What was the key, Ira, for Mike Norvell to? I thought, and to say he did it quietly, I think he did, because I don't think a lot of people saw this coming.
Yeah, I think really the biggest key was just kind of getting the players that were not part of his system out and getting the new players in. And I think that's the thing. I talk to my friends in the media and fellow fans of other schools who are in the first year of a coaching change or even into the second year of a coaching change. And there's always this panic that maybe we hired the wrong guy. Why is it not getting better? And you look at some of the examples where a coach comes in 1 year and has great success, and people will say, okay, well, if he could do it, why can't you do it? I mean, I just think sometimes, man, if you're in a really bad situation, and you guys said it right, Florida State was in a really bad situation. You had a roster filled with guys, a lot of guys who signed with Jimbo Fisher, and then he checked out early on in that 2017 season. He wanted to leave. Then you get Willie Taggart for 2 years. You got a couple classes under him, and now you bring in a new coach in Mike Norvell. And that first year, and then it was on top of that, it was the COVID season.
Yeah,
he did not have players that believed in him or his staff. They didn't believe in each other. They didn't trust each other. And so it was a wreck. And I think Florida State wisely gave him a little bit of time. And I think the fans, showed a little bit of patience. Now he's got his guys. And you saw they played hard. They played together. And he never strayed from the course. I think during that whole time, sometimes when you're having struggles like that and the pressure starts to mount, and this is his first Power 5 job, you could maybe try to cut some corners or do something to kind of find instant results. I think he did a really good job of kind of staying the course and then doing a great job in the transfer portal, and it paid off.
Yeah, and you talk about this knee-jerk reaction that we have in college football, that if you don't win right away, now schools are like, used to be 4 years, 5 years, we're going to move you on. And I know financially, Florida State couldn't really move on from Mike Norvell because they were still paying Willie Taggart and all this other stuff.
And then Jimbo.
But you got to give Florida State just a smidge of credit that, okay, you know what? We're going to ride this out with Mike Norvell. We're going to give him a little bit of time. You kind of alluded it to there, where they kind of have given Mike Norvell a little extra time to try to turn this around. One, because financially they just can't afford to get rid of him. And two, he has shown a little bit of progress and the mess that he had to try to clean up.
Yeah, no question. But, and a lot of people will say that Florida State couldn't afford to get rid of Mike Norvell. People were saying that last summer. But my response to that was they couldn't afford to fire Willie Taggart either. And they did it.
They had to.
That's true.
Schools, it's just like some of us might max out our credit cards. Schools are willing to sometimes write these checks just to kind of move on and show their fans that they want to move on because there's such pressure to fill the stadiums. And again, I'm not. If you got the wrong coach, you got the wrong coach. I didn't think they should have fired Willie Taggart when they did, just because I knew they couldn't afford it. But I think that feeling inside the program from the administration was it's not going to get better. Right. So if you're in a situation where it's not going to get better, that's one thing. But if it's just a matter of convincing the fans to hold out a little longer, it might be the right solution because you don't know that the next guy is going to work out either. And you see some of these schools that just keep recycling coaches every 2 years, and they're just waiting to hit the lottery.
Yeah, they really are. And 10-3, the Seminoles, have a really solid year under Mike Norvell. And then as you said, he's shown a nice mastery of the transfer portal. I know it's interesting. He brought in some quality guys last year. Really, since he got there during the COVID, he's been able to bring in some quality transfers to make an impact. I know that's helped. And I still think, even though he lost Travis Hunter to Jackson State, I still think they responded well. The recruiting seems to be improving exponentially at Florida State.
Yeah, it's still not where a lot of FSU fans want to be, and again, their only frame of reference is, for the last since 1976, the two head coaches that they've spent the most time with were Bobby Bowden, who is maybe the best closer in recruiting in college football history, and then Jimbo Fisher, who came in and from day one started signing 5-stars.
Right.
I mean, the minute he got to Florida State, they're bringing in 5-star guys. So that's their frame of reference, and they look at Mike Norvell and say, okay, when are we going to start getting some of those guys? Well, they got one in this class, Hakeem Williams, who's a wide receiver who's really highly touted. They've gotten a couple guys last year, Azaria Thomas, a big-time defensive back from the Panhandle, Florida, who probably would have gone to LSU or Florida or even Oklahoma, but all three changed head coaches, and he kind of fell in Florida State's lap. They really worked it the whole time, and it lucked out for them. They've signed a couple other kind of big-time guys, but I do think this next cycle, you're going to see them cash in on that 10-3 success. We've already seen their first couple of junior days, which is a big deal in January now, and they've had a lot higher caliber of player coming in. So I think this, as long as they don't, flop this season and don't fail to meet these expectations, I think they could have their best class yet under Mike Norvell.
We talk a lot about Lane Kiffin doing so much in the transfer portal, but everybody around college football says, hey, wait a minute, it was Florida State and Mike Norvell who did a fantastic job, maybe the best job of getting guys out of the portal.
He's really done a great job. Their whole staff has, and it kind of, to some degree, they kind of lucked into it a little bit. That first year when the portal opened up, they got in it really quickly. They had to. It was out of necessity. Some schools, Clemson and some other schools have chosen what kind of were slow to get into it. They just didn't know if it was a good idea to bring guys into your program who are leaving schools for some reason or another. And Mike Norvell had to. He had to flip this roster. And then he had a lot of success. Obviously the poster child for their success is Jermaine Johnson. He was at Georgia. He was a role player. He wasn't even really starting. He kind of was a situational player on their defense. That was a great defense, but Jermaine Johnson was not like some super duper star going into the portal. Florida State got him in, turned him into the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, first round draft choice, and he's been a great ambassador for the program. Last night he was at Florida State's basketball game, hanging out with Jared Verse and Trey Benson, two current players. So that was they nailed it with him, and then it's just kind of fulfilled it. Now they're getting guys who have seen, in this past year, some of their biggest stars on offense, all of their biggest stars on offense, the running back Trey Benson, the wide receiver Johnny Wilson. These were guys that were not top of the list in the transfer portal. Many schools weren't interested at all. Florida State identified them. They came in, had great success, and now that's helping them get more transfer guys.
It really is. And talk about a couple of these guys. I mean, a couple of them we're very familiar with. I mean, Keandre Jones coming in to very likely compete for a starting job in the interior of the offensive line. And then Jaheim Bell was a guy that I thought showcased some talent as well at South Carolina. But talk about those two.
Yeah, Keandre's one I'm really excited about. I know his career at Auburn was kind of a little bit up and down. And I think Alex Atkins, who's FSU's offensive line coach, might get the best out of him. I mean, you look at him physically, and there's no doubt he's an SEC offensive lineman that Florida State's going to be, I think, happy to have. He's just a big, strong, powerful kid, and they're really excited about him. He's one of three experienced offensive line transfers they brought in. So this offensive line, I think, might get better, even though they lost 2 or 3 starters from it. And then Jaheim Bell is probably, in some people's eyes, the star of this transfer class that they brought in. He was used in so many different ways. At South Carolina, he ran the ball a ton of times, but he's also a tight end. He could kind of split out at wide receiver. He's really talented. They call, when he was at South Carolina, they called him Debo 2.0. And he, kind of was, seen as the next Debo Samuel, which is obviously really high praise. He didn't quite live up to that. But he's really talented. And Mike Norvell's done a great job with tight ends in terms of scheming them open. They just haven't had an athlete of his ability. So I think there's a feeling that he might have a huge, huge year here.
For years, when you talk Florida State, quarterbacks came to the mind. I mean, that Florida State produced quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. There's been that lull there. Is Jordan Travis the guy to get Florida State back into that conversation of producing top quarterbacks?
It's kind of amazing how much things have changed over the last 6 or 7 months.
No doubt.
Going into this time last year, Florida State, a lot of Florida State fans were very critical of Mike Norvell because he didn't go into the transfer portal and try to find another quarterback. He basically put all his eggs in the Jordan Travis basket. And not only were there questions about how good Jordan was, but also whether or not he could stay healthy. Well, he obviously stayed healthy. He only missed basically one half of the season. He missed the second half against Louisville, but he stayed healthy. He was much smarter when he ran the ball, but he became a much better passer and just had a huge year. Very efficient, great touchdown to interception ratio, also made some big plays. I think he's one of those guys I still don't think a lot of people are sure, is he really as good as like his PFF numbers look? According to Pro Football Focus, they have him as the top graded quarterback in the country. I think some people are skeptical of that, but just the fact that he's being mentioned in the breath with the Caleb Williams is, and he's one of the, according to Vegas, he's one of the front runners for the Heisman, and it's really cool to see because he's a self-made guy. As athletic as he is, when he left Louisville because they didn't really care about him. He came to Florida State, and for 2 years he kind of languished on the bench, and now he's turned into what looks like maybe one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
And we're talking to Ira Schofel of warchant.com, probably the longest-running source there is for Florida State news. And I have to bring this up because he's part of the transfer portal class, and we have been one of our topics on the show today has been a trip to Shorter College for my co-hosts and his cohort, Scott Tyson and Steve Moulton, going over there tomorrow for some basketball. But football-wise, Florida State bringing in a tight end who's very intriguing, 6'7", 250 pounds, Kyle Morlock from Rome, played at Shorter, and now coming to Florida State.
Yeah, this is one of the more interesting ones for sure. And they brought in some guys from the FCS level that have had success. Obviously, Jared Verse was an FCS level guy.
That's right.
But Division II is it's quite a step up. And I know there's really good players at that level. But it's usually that's a pretty big jump. And as you said, Kyle Morlock came out of high school a couple years ago. He was actually from Rome, Georgia. Played wide receiver, had no offers, was just kind of a guy. When he gets to Shorter, they move him to tight end. They bulk him up a little bit. He has a really good, two really good seasons back to back. And what was cool about it is we talked to him yesterday, and people can find his interview on YouTube. He's an impressive guy because what's impressive to me is the Shorter coaches didn't fight him on his decision to transfer. He said they were actually kind of encouraging with him. They helped him out during that process, which is cool because you got to imagine if you're a Division II coach, you got to be thinking, okay, we finally hit one. We've got this superstar, and now he wants to leave. But they said he said they were great throughout the whole process, which really says a lot, I think, about them and that program. But once he went in the portal, Florida State was one of a bunch of schools that were really interested in him. As you said, he's a big kid. I think he's 6'6", 6'7". Jaheim Bell is getting all the attention.
Yeah.
We talked about him earlier because he's such a dynamic athlete. But another 6'6", 6'7" target to go along with Johnny Wilson, who's a 6'7" wide receiver, and some of the other guys they have that are 6'4", 6'5". You can see why Florida State fans are really excited going into the season.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Ira, as we're wrapping it up with you, I mean, now the expectations weren't supremely high last year, and everything kind of the crescendo built. They win 10 games. They have a very successful year. Now the expectations going into next season are going to be much, much higher. As I mentioned as you were coming on, some early rankings, which until you get through spring practice and the portal and all this, I don't really understand it. But they're going to be a highly ranked squad. Talk about how good potentially they could be.
Well, I think the offense is going to be, one of the best in the country. I mean, you just look at it. We talked about the offensive linemen they're bringing in. I think that group's going to be improved. You bring back Trey Benson, who was a 1,000-yard rusher, and he got better as the year went on. He had barely played college football before the season. Johnny Wilson, a receiver, a same type of deal, hadn't played much before last season or hadn't done a whole lot. And then they're adding a bunch of new pieces. Some of the guys we've talked about and some other guys they brought in as well. So I think the offense is going to be dynamic. The defense made a lot of improvement this year, but it wasn't great. It wasn't certainly great against good offenses. So they made a lot of efforts there. They brought in some 3 transfers on the defensive line, which should help. They brought in an all-ACC cornerback in Pentrell Cypress from Virginia. He likely will be a starter from day one. So they've upgraded that side of the ball too. There's no doubt in my mind, against the schedule they play in the ACC, I think Florida State has a great chance to have a huge year and maybe win 11 games, something like that, and get in, maybe contend to get in the playoff if they can win the ACC, finally knock off Clemson. But the one challenge to it, I think, is something they have to deal with, is they haven't had expectations in a long time. And we all know that's different. And they haven't had to, this is a full 6-7 months of hype that they're going to be facing. And we got to see how they handle it because it's something new. It's weird to say, but that's a new thing around Florida State in recent years.
It really is. Well, Ira, we appreciate it. Thank you for the few minutes. Let everybody know how to connect with you guys over at Warchant.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's warchant.com, and we still have a special going because it's our first year with On3. So I think right now you can still get a subscription for $30 that'll take you through to the start of football season. And, it's warchant.com, and you can follow us on social media at Warchant as well.
Thank you, Ira.
Thanks, Ira.
Thanks, guys.
We got to get a break in.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Picked up a wreck at airport in Whitesburg. No injury. Sounds like it's going to a parking lot. Waiting on a trooper, Bell Factory in River Downs. That one was a no injury. Had a wreck on the Parkway northbound to south of 565. Looks like it's been clear now. Popeye's famous chicken sandwich is only $4.99. Crispy tender chicken on a delicious toasted brioche bun. Love that chicken from Popeye's, University and Jordan. 72 at Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Forgiveness. Wow, what a word. What a gift. All of us have done things in our lives that we regret. All of us have done things that are disobedient. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God that he separates our sins as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor at Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. Check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is, I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to kickstart the new year with 0% interest. We've got financing as low as 0% APR for 36 months on 2022 and 2023 models of F-150, Explorer, Edge, and Escape. Plus, there's an extra $1,000 bonus cash on F-150 XLT. Come on in to Woody Anderson Ford today and choose from over 100 F-150s and nearly 50 Explorers. I bet you can find exactly what you're looking for. And we've also got longer-term financing as low as 4.9% for up to 72 months. It's available on 2022 F-150, Explorer, Edge, Escape, and Mustang. With your good credit, these offers are through Ford Motor Credit. Offers end January 31st. At Woody Anderson Ford, we'd be glad to walk you through the online ordering, too. Plus, you'll get $1,000 bonus cash. Come see us and let's get 2023 off to a great start. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan at Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
The Huntsville Sports Commission is responsible for bringing high-level sports entertainment to the Rocket City. In 2023, enjoy events like the CCSA Beach Volleyball Championships, Hometown Lenders Championship, UCI Paracycling Road World Cup, and so much more. To learn more about upcoming events and the Huntsville Sports Commission, visit HuntsvilleSports.com. The Huntsville Sports Commission. We do sports.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list, and maybe a little scary. But it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Just a couple of those headlines to get through. Major League Baseball, the Baseball Writers Association only voting in one player for the Hall of Fame. Scott Rowland got 76% of the vote, 76.3%, just to get enough in, just to get in to the Hall of Fame. Others that did not get in, Todd Helton did not get in, Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones only got a little over 56% of the votes. So Andrew Jones did not get into the Hall of Fame. Gary Sheffield did not get in. Carlos Beltran did not get in. Jeff Kent, among others. Alex Rodriguez, not this year for those guys, did not get in to the Hall of Fame.
I'm interested. How much? What was the percentage of vote for Alex? Since he, has been connected to steroids a couple of times.
Alex got 30.
In the 30s? Gotcha.
35.7% of the votes for Alex Rodriguez.
I think it takes, 75%?
75% to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And just a short time ago, the NFL released all their award candidates or finalists. Your NFL MVP finalists are Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. Your AP Offensive Player of the Year finalists, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson. And your Defensive Player of the Year finalists, Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, and Micah Parsons.
It got to be Parsons, I would think, even though they got
Probably
Burrow.
so. Jalen Hurts, hard to argue with not being the MVP.
Him or Mahomes, I would think. I think that's probably your two lead guys. I would say Mahomes might have the edge, but Jalen getting hurt late in the year didn't help. But he came back, won last week, and we'll see what he does this week against Nick Bosa in Frisco.
Your comeback player of the year is Geno Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Christian McCaffrey.
Got to go with Geno.
NFL playoff season is here, and the best place to catch all of the action, all the way up until the Super Bowl, is Humphrey's Bar and Grill. Don't miss Humphrey's Game Day Football Specials, $2.75 Miller Lite, Yingling, Coors Light Pints, $3.50 Yellow Hand